Protests have erupted, some would say, in Minneapolis following a shooting of another young black man by police officers. Daunte Wright was reportedly shot and killed Sunday afternoon during a traffic stop. Police say they learned of an outstanding warrant against the young father after he was pulled over. Later in the evening, police used tear gas, flashbangs, and rubber bullets to disperse demonstrators who gathered just about 10 miles away from where Derek Chauvin's murder trial is entering its third week. National Guard troops were brought in just before midnight. Here's a look at the front page of the Star Tribune this morning, a reminder of the months-long protests we saw across the Twin Cities following George Floyd's death last May. Jamie Yuccas reports now from the Brooklyn Center, Minnesota Police Department.
Marching through the city, protesters met a line of officers at the Brooklyn Center Police Department who used flashbangs and tear gas to try to break up the group.
We saw rocks and other objects thrown at the police department. There were reports of shots fired in the area of the police department.
Earlier in the day, dozens gathered in the same spot where family says Daunte Wright was killed by police.
What do we want? Justice! What do we want now?
His mother, Katie Wright, says Daunte called her right before the incident.
That he was getting pulled over by the police, and I said, well, why did you get pulled over? He said they pulled him over because he had air fresheners hanging from the rearview mirror. He didn't deserve to be shot and killed like this.
The 20-year-old allegedly drove away when police say officers tried to arrest him on an outstanding warrant. One officer fired a shot at the car and hit Wright, who allegedly continued driving several blocks before hitting another car. Wright died at the scene and no one else was seriously injured. Police are investigating and say dash and body cameras appear to have been activated at the time. The shooting took place just 15 miles from where George Floyd was killed by Minneapolis police last May. As the murder trial of Derek Chauvin continues today, residents say this adds to the hurt.
Pain and grief. I mean, trauma. We're already in a trial with George Floyd. We're at a breaking point as a people.
So Jamie Yuccas is joining us now with more on what happened in Minnesota. So set the scene for us, Jamie. You know, what's happening on the ground right now? What are you hearing about continued reaction to Daunte Wright's death?
So I can tell you that we are across the street from the Brooklyn Center Police Department. You can see there are a number of police officers still standing outside. They've been here throughout the night. There are also National Guard troops who came in to try to quell some of the violence. We, the crew was setting up today, we found these marker rounds. They're non-lethal rounds used to disperse the crowd, and I can tell you, if you can see around me, there's a lot of garbage left over from the people who were here demonstrating last night. Now, we did have Daunte's brother come to the scene this morning and talk to us to tell us a little bit more about his brother, that he was a father and was trying to turn his life around, that he had gotten in trouble with police at various points in time, and that warrant that showed up when the police went to the car was because he hadn't checked in with a probation officer on a prior incident. So that's directly from Daunte's brother. We're going to wait to hear a little bit more from police later this morning. There is a press conference scheduled to happen about midday. That's where we should find out if they plan to release any of that body camera video. I can tell you, with tension so high here, I think it's doubtful that they will release it very quickly. But there has been a call in the state, at the state level, with the government asking that in these types of incidents that the police body cam video be released within just a couple of days. So we'll be watching and waiting this morning. We also know that some activists and city leaders and people with Black Lives Matter will also be here a little bit later this morning to talk to the crowds, to talk about what they plan to do moving forward. Of course, downtown Minneapolis is about a 15-minute drive from here, and you've seen all the security and things that have been happening down there where the trial's taking place. Some of those resources now diverted here, so we're going to have to see how the city and state plan to coordinate their efforts moving forward with both of these situations now taking place.
So as you mentioned, Jamie, the trial of Derek Chauvin is happening just a few miles from where you are right now. The trial is now entering its third week, and we expect that the prosecution will wrap up its case in the next day or so, Jamie, and then it'll be up to defense to bring up some of their witnesses. What have you heard about the possibility of Derek Chauvin himself taking to the witness stand?
Well, of course, the defense is staying very tight-lipped on that fact, Vlad, but you are absolutely right. People are going to be watching and waiting to see if he does, in fact, take the stand on his own behalf. We've heard from a number of legal experts who say that normally they wouldn't advise a defendant to take the stand, but in this case, there's been so much damaging testimony that's gone to the character, too, of Derek Chauvin as a police officer that it would be in his best interest to get up on the stand and potentially tell a jury what was going through his mind. Was the crowd distracting him? Did he feel threatened? That it would help humanize him to the jury who has seen all of these videos and body camera videos and things that have come out that have put him in a the prosecution obviously trying to demonize him in the minds of the jury. So what could he do to humanize himself? Many people saying that would be him taking the stand and actually talking about what happened that day. We do know that the prosecution is supposed to wrap up today. We've been told that at least one George Floyd family member will speak to talk about the loss of their loved one. And then we know another use of force expert is likely to testify to try to hammer home for the prosecution what happened in this case and the fact that Derek Chauvin's knee is, in fact, a contributing factor in George Floyd's death. Again, it doesn't have to be the main factor, but a contributing factor. And that's what the prosecution will try to hammer home before the defense takes over its case. One legal expert here in Minneapolis reached out this morning and said he wouldn't be surprised if Derek Chauvin is going to take the stand, that we would probably see that happen immediately, that it would make more sense for Derek Chauvin to take the stand right off the bat, so then experts could come in and kind of verify his story and validate it in the minds of the jury.
All right, Jamie Yuccas, thank you.